I have a few questions surrounding this Greyhound move because I actually remember the time period where that happened. Everyone kind of knew that something was going to happen. And I guess for some people that are maybe a little bit more into the scene than I was at the time, or like, you know, a little bit more involved with the players, they probably all knew what was happening. At least everyone knew something was happening. And from my perspective, I didn't know what was happening. I just knew that it was going to be a big roster move between the three teams. So it seems like you being picked up by Greyhound is kind of what started this three-way shuffle between Greyhound, Tainted, and Chiefs. Because if you remember, it was Burn that went to Tainted, you went to Greyhound, and then obviously someone must have joined Chiefs from that at that point, but I can't remember who that was.
Yeah, who did they get?
But it was you that started all of that, like, shenanigans, right?
I think so. What happened was, so Irk messaged me and I was like, keen. And then somehow Josh, oh no. So it's pure luck, right? So after that event, because Tainted lost to us, I think at that event, I think we beat them because we won the
at
CG.
Pro League Season 7?
At the CG, the last CG lane, I think it was.
No, you lost to Tainted at CG. Oh, sorry, no, you would have beaten them. You would have beaten them because you won that event.
Yeah. Okay, so we beat Tainted, and then so like that night, Irk messaged me, and then I was keen, all that already sorted. Next day, Josh messaged me and was like, "Hey man, you want to join Tainted? We're gonna replace Charge." And I was like, "Okay, now I have two. Like now I need to pick." And I kind of learned from Josh's lesson that it didn't matter. Like Tainted were offering like a better salary and stuff, but at the time I knew that the Greyhound roster was going to be the roster who won everything. Or I believe that if like with me joining them, we could be that team. And I think I'm pretty sure they'd already started winning like a few things, and that's when I was like, yeah, these guys definitely, like just the way they played was different to other Oz teams because they just had good fundamentals, and that's kind of like just how I like to play as well, or like how I think is the right way to play. So I decided to go with, So Josh came and said, "We're getting rid of Connor. Do you want to join?" And I was like, probably gonna go with Greyhound. And then I had to so I told Chiefs about both offers, and then I think Frank was like, "Well, I want to try I'm gonna try sell you Tainted and see like if they'll pay more than like the Greyhound would for the buyout or whatever."
Right.
So basically, tried to like get the most out of me, and it was kind of like stressful for me because I was like, I really just want to be in Greyhound, and like I think at the end of the day, Will was basically just like, whatever, like let's just get him, let's just pull the trigger, get him, like stop any buyout like shit from blocking it or whatever. I think Irk was a big part of that as well. Irk was like, no, once we get him, we'll be the best, like we'll 100% be the best team. Like you have to get him, and so I owe Irk a lot of that. I think for like having my back in the negotiation side of things with Will. So then basically because that happened, I think Tainted were kind of like, they're like, oh well, Burn will be a good fit for us anyway. So they were kind of happy that it all worked, like it kind of worked out how it did. And then I can't remember who Chiefs got though. It's kind of a weird one. Did they?
It would have been.
Did they get Moe
infrequent or like I can't really remember.
Oh, because they might have replaced Sterling at the same time and got Moe and infrequent because that was a roster, right? Texter, Flicks, Moe, and frequent Tux. I'm pretty sure it was.
Sterling. Wait, Texter, Tux, Sterling, Flicks, APOC. APOC.
Oh, APOC. Wait, what? Wasn't he? Wasn't he in Tainted? What the hell? Yeah, he definitely was in Tainted. Did they?
This was the roster that ended up like playing in the IEM Sydney just after all this roster change stuff. So I'm not sure what ended up happening, to be honest.
That's weird.
But I guess it's not so relevant to your story, which is
no. Sorry, I'm just going off on a tangent.
You're just going down a rabbit hole, taking control of it. Don't worry, mate.
It's good memories.
If you ever want to ask me any question, like feel free to just host this. It's fine.
Yeah. So what do you miss about League of Legends, man?
I don't miss much actually. I still play a lot of League of Legends. I played some last night at about 2 a.m.
I only play ARAMs. Good game.
No, fuck ARAMs. Anyways, so it's kind of funny that you mention Irk picking you essentially, and kind of being that guy that told Will that you needed to join the roster because it would make the roster way better, and like you were just going to be sick as a team, because that's pretty much essentially what ended up happening. You know, the way that I've kind of categorized this again is it's like the honeymoon period that never really ended for Grayhound, because as soon as you join this roster, it's gone from a kind of a top 4 discussion to Grayhound being the best team in the region and everyone else being like playing second fiddle and trying to catch up. So what was that kind of like, you know, coming into this roster, you know, playing with Dexter and Urkas for the first time? And this is the big question. Was it the best career move of your life?
I think definitely the last part. Like, I think it was very lucky. So basically the reason I think it happened, like, or like, I don't want to say that it didn't like deserve to be like in a top team or anything, but I think like there's like other players could have filled my role at the same time and done like a good job as well, you know what I mean? But I think the reason I got the offer was because I'd always kind of been friendly with Irk and Sean at like events and stuff. Like, we always, whenever we had drinks or anything, it was like I kind of like, there was one time where it was Zen League or something, and we like just played a game. We played like an ESEA game or something. This is when I was living in Sydney, and then Irk was like, "Hey bro, like Zen League just finished with drinking in Parramatta or something. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah, why not?" So I just like drove there and just had drinks with them and stuff like that. And I think that was kind of an aspect of why Irk was keen, or like Irk and Sean both kind of were keen to pick me up, was like not as much because of who I was as a player. Like, I think they were like happy with, like, they were like, yeah, he's a good player and everything, but like as a like, we like him as a person, and that was a big thing in their team, was like having a good like friend culture kind of thing. So I think that's why Irk, and I think that's something Irk really, like, that's something he always looks for in a team, is like having someone who's socially going to fit in and be friends with everyone. Because obviously then you have like a positive vibe in the team, and that's kind of important. So I think that's why the like option was kind of there for me, was like just friendship, like just like for upcoming players, just be friends with everyone.
Yep.
It's a good, like, you know, if you're a dick, no one's going to want to play with you. So like, I think that's why I kind of like set myself up like for the opportunity, in the fact that I was just like friends with the guys at that time. But yeah, obviously you can look back and just say that was probably the best choice. Like, you know, if I'd gone to Tainted, I think I would not be where I am now, or I don't think the team would have had the success that this team has.
Do you think you still would have found a way onto this Renegades roster that you're on now if you would have joined Tainted at the time? Or was it like a one ticket, and if you don't take it, there's no other chances?
I don't know. I think if I hadn't taken the offer at the time, like, I think this team would still be where it's at now. I think.
But would it include you?
Yeah, no, I don't think it would. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think they would be at the same point now with another player, and they wouldn't forgive me for not taking their offer, I reckon. Okay. Not in like a bad way, like as in like, well, we hate that guy, didn't take our offer. I think they would have just been like, you know, he made his choice.
Then maybe this is a difficult question for you to answer. Do you know if you didn't accept that offer, who would have got the offer?
I think they probably would have just kept Cal. I'm not really sure. I don't really know who they would have gotten outside of that. I just think at some point, like, I think they would have kept winning, and at some point, you know, Josh would have like become an option. I think they could have got Josh, and it'd be the same team now, but maybe I don't know, maybe it really depends. Like, would I still be a good player if I'd not joined the team, and if I didn't have like all this experience that I have now overseas and stuff? Like, there's a lot that I know that I wouldn't know if I didn't get to play. Like, and prior, like, you know, we go boot camp and all this stuff. I learn all this stuff that I would never be able to have if I didn't play in this team. So I think I would be like a much worse player if I'd stayed in Oz this whole time. And then, you know, there'd be players who just would be better than I would be in you know, the position to take their offer.
As you'd expect. But luckily for you, at least, that didn't happen, and you're still here on the Renegades roster. Either way, at the time that this roster move happened, it was like, I think it was like 3 weeks before IEM Sydney 2018, or it was at least very, very close to IEM Sydney 2018.
Yeah.
And I remember obviously being a caster and, you know, trying to sort of theory craft what would happen with these roster moves. I was thinking like, what the fuck? Why would you make a roster move this close to IEM Sydney? You know, this is the biggest tournament of basically your career. And everyone was thinking like, this is a crazy time to make a move. But did it sort of feel like that for you and for maybe the rest of the teams as well? I don't know if you can comment on it for them, but it seems like a pretty strange time to make a change. And the only argument that we could really make, and I remember it at the time, was that once you make that roster move, there's often the honeymoon period where team just perform so much better because they've made this roster change and everyone's sort of really happy that they've upgraded their roster in a sense.
I think, sorry, I think what happens is teams at that point, because we just had like tournaments. So Greyhound had the Asus ROG, you were saying? They were just at that tournament and they just played that and they didn't manage to win that. I think they came second or third or something like that. They did pretty well.
From memory, it was actually not a great tournament for Greyhound.
Didn't they? Because I thought that was one where
they might
beat...
have come second. Yeah, they might have come second, I think. Hang on, I'll go back and have a bit of a look.
Pretty sure they beat Tyloo and they beat Vegas Squadron or something there, right? Or was Vegas... No, maybe Vegas Squadron was something else. But I remember them having a fairly decent result, and then I think the last game they played was disappointing. It was like they played Tyloo for the second time and they lost. And they weren't happy. And I think they kind of realized what I was saying earlier about how you kind of have one player in the team who everyone kind of feels is holding them back. And that's kind of, I think that's what happened is like at the same time Tated had the CG LAN and they kind of realized that with Connor. And then I think Greyhound had this Asus ROG tournament. They realized that with Cal and they kind of both, it was just like unfortunate timing, I guess, that it was so close to IM Sydney. But you can't keep a player in a team longer than you should because of a tournament that's coming up in a few months, you know? Because then there's going to be a tournament a month after that, and there's going to be one a month after that, and you just end up snowballing it. Like, so you just got to pull the band-aid off at some point.
This was a highlight from In Retrospect episode 1, which featured Malta. We go in depth into his early career and a little bit more in depth into the later stages of his career with the likes of Greyhound and Renegade. So make sure you check it out if you're interested.